Hi everyone, it's Denise from Dobby Books, and today I'm going to give you my end of the week review, stuff I read, stuff I got, and let's get started. So, I just finished Redwall. What a great story. This really is a beautiful story. This is something that we as adults can totally enjoy. If you're looking for a read that's an easier read, but it's still interesting. I mean, this was good. It has some action scenes in it. Because of the way Clooney, the evil villain, the rat, was portrayed, and the struggle, the war that um, Clooney fought against Redwall, which was like a monastery. Some of the descriptions are a little, I want to say, graphic. I would say this book is definitely fifth grade and up. I would not read it to younger children, but fifth grade and up. This is a good series. I think there's 21 books in the whole series. I'm debating now whether I'm going to go ahead and get the second book. You can read this one book, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. So, Redwall by Brian Jacques. And I think this originally was published in the 80s. Mine is the 39th print, 1986. Where was I in 1986? Oh my gosh. I was young. Okay, the next one. I'm still working my way through this book. I'm almost there. I've just got a little bit more to go. How to Stand Up to a Dictator, The Fight for Our Future by Maria Ressa. And she makes some very interesting points here. She uh, and her friends and coworkers had created a program, um, a, a sort of social media program called Rappler. And they were a news organization. She's a journalist, and during the time that she um, this was happening, Duterte, if I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, President Duterte came to power, and he began to use social media to win favor for himself and to influence the minds of the Filipinos. And it was very, very effective. She talks about how she knew the founder of Facebook, and she had gone to some meeting, I don't know when, and thought they had a good rapport. And when she began to tell him that you need to do something about Facebook because it's allowing these I'm going to call them infiltrators to post things that were not true, that were misinformation, but it was affecting the public in a negative way. Facebook didn't act. And by the time they did, she said around 2016, it was too little, too late. They really should have taken a stronger action toward it, a more accountable, um, was it more accountable, just to hold Facebook and social media in general to a higher standard, but they didn't. And she said it's because it brought them a lot of profit, and that is what they preferred over the truth. And she talked about how she saw this happening in where was it? It wasn't Thailand. It was a different country, and she saw the mob mentality take place, and it really left an impression on her. And she saw that happening again in the Philippines, and because her organization, Rappler, continued to hold the government to account and would back it up with facts. Anybody could have accessed their information to see where they got their information, to follow the line of information and reason to see that they were in fact telling the truth. Her organization ended up being attacked by President Duterte, and she ended up getting sued, going to jail. She talks about how fearful she was at times, but she realized that after she processed that emotion, she knew she had to move forward because for her, the option of just being quiet and doing nothing just did not exist. Silence was compliance, and she couldn't live like that. So she gives some very wise advice to people. And this is, I really, the more I read this book, there's more. I just can't say enough. This is truly a book that applies to our time right now in the United States. Um, she has a saying in her organization, Rappler, hold the line. And it had given me an idea. I remember I created this image where it had an image of the Constitution and the part where it says "We the People," and I superimposed on that the words "Hold the line." And I've contemplated making, bumper stickers, just general bumper stickers out of it that people can put anywhere. I've made small ones as well, and I think as an encouragement to us as we the people to hold the government accountable and to demand honesty and transparency and to follow the rule of law and not to be silent. And I hope I'm right. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, those of you who are better experts at this. But the Constitution is what the government is accountable to. And I forgot the other. Oh my gosh. The other one, there's another one that we are answerable. That's for us as citizens. But the Constitution itself is what the government is answerable to. And that's why I superimposed over the "We the People" beginning of the Constitution, standing for the government, hold the line. So here's the government, and here's the people. And I don't know if it seems interesting at all. Let me know. But I think if we just sort of remember that it'll be very important, especially during these next 4 years, and hopefully not any more than that. But I think it's really important. And again, I would highly recommend you guys to order this book or listen to it on audio, How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa. And what did I get? Recently, I got this book. I got this off eBay, and it's really interesting. It's called The Making of a Poem, a Norton Anthology of Poetic Forms in my quest to better understand poetry. And it's interesting that it breaks up the different types of poems. So they have verse forms, and they give an overview. Then it goes into the Vianelle is how I'm pronouncing it. It might be pronounced Vianelle. I don't know. The next one is the Sestina. Next is the Pantoum. Then the sonnet. Then the ballad. After that, blank verse, the heroic couplet, the stanza. And then part 2 talks about meter. Part 3 talks about shaping forms and goes into the elegy, the pastoral, the ode, and then finally part 4 goes into open forms. And for each one of these types, for example, when they go over, let's say the Biennale or the Villanelle, first it has an overview. So the Biennale at a glance. And then the next section is the history of the form. And after that, the contemporary context. And there's a whole list here. This one has a dozen listings of poems that follow this pattern. And then it goes into the next one, the Sestina, and you get your Sestina at a glance, the history of the form, the contemporary context, and then a whole list of poems. So we're under the heroic couplet. I'm just flipping to that really quick. So it starts with the heroic couplet at a glance, and then it lists the characteristics of the couplet. It is a rhyming pair of lines. The meter is usually iambic pentameter, but may also be tetrameter. A pentameter couplet has 10 syllables with alternating stresses. The rhyme scheme progresses as A, B, B, C, C, etc. The heroic couplet, so called, denoted that it was a form in which a high subject matter could be written. This was the form often used for translation of epic poetry from the classical Latin and Greek. It works by adapting the old Chaucerian line and allowing a strong pause or caesura in the middle of the line. The caesura, now some of you, depending on how you pronounce your Italian or your Latin, might pronounce it the caesura, usually comes after the fifth or sixth syllable. Its sharp rhymes and regular beat made it widely used in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries for epigrammic and satirical poetry. And here's your history of the form, and now you have a sample poem. And this is the way it goes through the entire book. And I love this because it's straightforward, and then it's simple, it's straightforward. And then in the back, I noticed it has biographies and further reading suggestions. So, for example, it has Oscar Wilde, birth and death date. It gives you a short bio, and then selected publications are suggested. This really is a wonderful little book. It's by Mark Strand and Yvonne Boland. I hope I have pronounced Yvonne Boland's name correctly. This was originally published in the year 2000 by W.W. Norton in Company. I wrapped this in contact paper because it's a little bit battered. I purchased this off eBay. It's a neat little book. The next one I got, this one I got today, A Bite-Sized History of France. Like I said, I'm listening to a lot of the expats in France right now. Before that, I think it was Spain. And this is A Bite-Sized History of France. I found this today at Barnes & Noble. I wasn't looking for it, but I was putzing around and I found this. And this has a great little synopsis, and it starts with, I think it starts at the very beginning. Yeah, the beginning is Our Ancestors the Gauls. So it starts at the beginning and it ends with France and the United States from liberation to exasperation. Yeah, I think the exasperation part's going to be picking up real soon. Bite-Sized History of France, Gastronomic Tales of Revolution, War, and Enlightenment, Stephane Henaut and Jeni Mitchell. And this is published by the New Press. Another one I got today is Edward Said, Orientalism. I heard about this book a while ago. Edward Said is from the Middle East. I don't know when he originally emigrated to this country, but in this, he is a professor. I think he passed away already, but he is a professor, and from what I understand, highly respected. And he wrote this to address the history and the stereotypes that we have of people in the Middle East. When we think of stories of like Aladdin, and he says if you look at illustrations and drawings, movies, a lot of them maintain this stereotype. And he addresses that here. And from what I understand, this book got some good reviews. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to get this whenever I do see it. And I would toy with the idea of perhaps ordering it, but then I said, no, just wait. And I wasn't looking for this today. I saw it. They had a few copies at the bookstore. Wow, okay. Someone must have been asking for this. Orientalism. This is the 25th anniversary edition with a new preface by the author. Perhaps he's still with us. Edward W. Said. And this is published by Vintage. The next book I got, I'm going to use this for Poetry Tuesday. A couple of the poems in this. And the reason I say that it addresses grief, gratitude, and reverence. And I think it just really touched me because for me, the holidays are not a happy time. And when I remind myself there are thousands of other people who experience the same thing. The holidays are tough for them. And the poems that drew me were the ones on grief, because this is what I remember in December. This is my new normal. This is the way it is, and I'm fine. I just, I've learned to live with this, and I certainly have no problems if someone wishes me Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I say thank you. But for me, the holidays are not the happy, joyful, celebratory thing that it used to be. It hasn't been that way for me for 10 years now. So for Poetry Thursday, I'm going to perhaps pick at least one poem of grief in honor of those individuals who struggle a little bit during the holidays, to acknowledge them, to let them know they're not alone, and to honor their feelings. Someone to acknowledge that they're sad. It's nice that it's the holidays, but I'm feeling kind of sad. I just want to acknowledge them and let them know that, we're here. And it's got gratitude and reverence. So these will also come in handy for poetry. Thursday, The Poetry of Grief, Gratitude, and Reverence, edited by John Brehm. I love the cover because owls are my favorite bird. Well, phoenixes are, but I haven't found any yet. So owls are it. And this is published by Wisdom, right? Yeah, Wisdom Press. Let me look. Give me a second. Yeah, Wisdom. Just Wisdom. Isn't that a great size? Look at this. I can hold it in my hand just like this. All right. And of course, this is my TBR stack here, people. This is my winter break TBR stack, right? Let me move this. Okay, here's the stack. My TBR stack. I finished one of them. So now I have these 4 to go. And I've decided that I'm going to be working on 2 at a time at the very least. And I'm going to try to get myself through them in a week and a half. So 10 days. 2 books in 10 days. So I can get to the next 2 books in 10 days. This last one here, the Trivium, is not something I'm going to be reading cover to cover. I want to give a review on this book, but because it's kind of dense, I'm going to need to spend a little time looking at it. I think I can do it. I think I could do it. If I finished Redwall, I think I can do this. All right, everybody. That's it for today. And I want you all to have a wonderful weekend. Be healthy and be happy. And I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.